The Alldus podcast is brought to you by Alldus International, supplying your expert AI and digital transformation staffing needs across the US and Europe. Today, you are listening to our ServiceNow series, where we interview the best and brightest of the industry to share their story, advice, and views on the exciting world of ServiceNow and digital transformation.
You're listening to the Alldus podcast, the ServiceNow series. Our guest today is Erika Flora. Erika is the CEO at Beyond20. Erika, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're delighted to have you. We know we've been talking about this one for a while, so let's jump straight in. Tell us about yourself. Can you give us a little bit of an overview of your background in technology, what your journey has been, and what led to the idea and formation behind Beyond20?
Sure. Yeah. So I did not start out in technology. It was the furthest thing from my mind. I grew up wanting to be a doctor and studied microbiology. Ended up getting my master's degree in microbiology. Decided I wanted to be a scientist at that point in my life until I worked as one. And I was like, oh no, this is not it. This is not what I want to do with the rest of my life. But through some happy accidents, I ended up working in the pharmaceutical industry and got the opportunity as a project manager to come in and fix how the organization was working. I was their first project manager, and so I walked into a chaotic environment, and they just said, just help us get better at how we manage our projects and help get them done and out the door. And so I helped fix a lot of processes, put some really simple tools. I mean, really simple, like, hey, if you're running a project, let's have a one-page sheet that says, why are we doing this project? Who's working on it? How much money are we spending? When are we hoping to be done? Like some really basic things just to get started and put a little bit of structure in place. And then over time, we put a bit more structure. And then maybe about several months in, we realized that it was becoming really difficult to manage projects across multiple locations. We were emailing schedules back and forth to folks. And so I just went in and talked to the C-suite, not realizing that was a weird thing. But my first job as a project manager, I pitched them on this idea of, hey, we need an enterprise project management platform. And here's the business case for it. And here's how we're going to do it and how it's going to help the organization. And to my surprise, I guess it wasn't to my surprise until I looked at it many years after the fact, but they were like, yeah, absolutely. Here's a bunch of money and go do it. It was the most money that they had ever spent at the time. And ended up having to teach myself how to implement software. Got a small team together, brought a consulting company in to kind of help us fill in some of the gaps and answer our questions. And it was wildly successful. It was transformative. It was in the days before there was the word digital transformation, but that's what we had done. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but this is awesome. And I want to keep doing this over and over and over again. And so that's what I did as an internal employee several times, help select enterprise tools and then help lead teams to get them implemented. And yeah, I was hooked. And in 2006, my husband Brian and I started Beyond20 based on a lot of those experiences. And so the reason why I mention that is because that really has formed the DNA of who Beyond20 is as a company. And our mission is to change work life. So that's what gets me up in the morning, is the ability to affect meaningful and positive change for our customers. We're a bit of a new-ish partner, I would say, within ServiceNow. We've been a ServiceNow partner for 5 years, but we as a company have been around for 18. And in that time, we've really developed a lot of services around how do we help tackle the people side of change, the process side of change, as well as the technology side of change. And in 5 years, we're proud to say we're ServiceNow's only 8A woman-owned, minority-owned elite partner. And our team is doing some really cool work. So yeah, I know that was a very long answer tell me about yourself.
I'm glad you shared it, because in the conversations that you and I have had, your path to where you are today is certainly non-traditional, but also in advertisements for those people listening to say, look, it doesn't need to be a straight line. Sometimes you just lean into where you're interested in, and that can be enough. And it's an amazing journey. So congratulations. We could cover so much about what you do and what you've done since launching the business. But let's focus on the ServiceNow component, because you've already touched on it there. In the 5 years since becoming a partner, you guys have had tremendous success, and the accolades being the only elite partner of the business of your size. So let's jump straight into that. Talk to us about the ServiceNow offerings, the team that you have, and maybe share some of the customer journeys, because I know there's some great stories and some really exciting ones that you can share with us.
We do work in a lot of different areas. We serve, I would say maybe 50% of our revenue comes from the private sector, and then 50% comes from serving state and local government as well as the federal government. So when we work with customers, we tend to work with customers that are new to ServiceNow. So we're really good at meeting them, number one, meeting them where they're at and helping them get educated very, very quickly on the ServiceNow platform. The other thing that we're really good at, and is something that we spend and continue to spend a lot of focus on as an organization, is this sense of rapid time to value. How do we get our customers live with ServiceNow as quickly as possible? And I think part of that too is not only my own experience just being on the other side of the table. Nobody wants to spend money on software that they don't get to use. And so we really apply a lot of unique, a bit of a unique agile approach to how we work. We work in 2-week sprints, and we show customers what we've built every 2 weeks, so they know exactly what they're getting. They have a lot of ability to provide feedback and make sure that we're on the right track, and so that they get something that's usable very, very quickly. In fact, I think our record for getting someone onto ServiceNow has been 8 weeks, and just get them up and running so that they get excited too about the capabilities of what's possible. And then they go, invariably it's, oh, our HR department needs this, our legal department needs this, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Our facilities department needs this. So we tend to, with customers, especially ones that are new to ServiceNow, we'll take where they're at, where they have their biggest pain point. A lot of times that could be ITSM, but it could be lots of other areas as well. And then we usually will get them live and then build upon that success.
I love that, because hearing the conversations that we hear in the community all the time is the quicker you can demonstrate value and get it into production, the easier the engagement and the subsequent conversations will be. What you've shared, it really speaks to that. I want to spend a little bit of time just looking at some of the recent customer success stories that you've had, and it could be from one particular new customer, you've talked on the timeline, or it could be one that you've taken on the journey from a few years ago where you implemented one component of ServiceNow, and now you've taken them right way throughout the journey. I'm sure there are a lot, because I know you work in different industries, but if there's a few that just stand out, that demonstrate the unique nature of what you do at Beyond20 while also maximizing the impact for ServiceNow.
So one of the things too that's worth mentioning is that we look for employees that have, or future employees that have industry expertise, because I think that what you find a lot of times in different technology communities, ServiceNow is no different, is there are folks that are really good at the craft of understanding the platform, but because we are an organization that leads with best practice first. It's not just we know how to configure ServiceNow, we understand the concepts beneath it. So enterprise service management, IT service management, agile, we look for folks that not only understand those best practices, or as a training organization ourselves, we train a lot of our employees in best practice, so they come to the table really understanding the why behind the platform. And how that's carried over is I'll give you a couple of examples. We have a large trucking company that actually came to us initially because they needed their staff trained. We trained them up in ITIL over the course of a few months and had just maintained a long-term relationship with them as consultants. They saw us as trusted advisors, and they were looking to replace their IT service management system at the time. And so we came in and said, absolutely, we're happy to help you with that. They were a large organization, so we had to break it up into 2 phases, phase 1A, phase 1B, but improve their security posture as a result of it, gave their leaders data that they had never had before in a digital dashboard, dramatically changed their ability to get issues resolved quickly. I think that we cut them in half in terms of the amount of time that it took. And then since that time, we're now in phase 3 of helping them with strategic portfolio management. And that has been really cool too, because they're able to now see the costs behind projects like they never have been able to before, and just put a lot of really great data into the hands of leaders so they can make better decisions on where they spend their money ultimately.
I want to go back to the people side of things, because you reference there the importance of bringing in people who go beyond just the tech knowledge. They can see beyond the specific project. They can understand the whether it be the industry or just the business model. One of the other things I know from speaking to you previously is the investment that you make in training and the importance of certifications, and why Beyond20 has a great reputation as being a great place to work. So talk to us about that side of the business, the culture there, and speaking to an audience of ServiceNow professionals, let them know what life at Beyond20 is like.
So life at Beyond20, we do have 6 core values that we talk a lot about with our folks. My favorite is be curious. I feel like we look for folks that are very curious. They like to learn, but also are very generous with that learning. And so when customers are asking us things like, hey, we want to configure X, Y, and Z in ServiceNow, our folks will often ask a lot of questions around, okay, tell me why you want to do that, and help me understand the drivers behind that so that we can build it in a way that's scalable for your organization. So I think curiosity is something that we look for in terms of hiring, developing across our organization. And what folks find is that everyone in the organization is happy to drop everything as needed to help out a teammate, and just basically have their back. We also have a core value of own it, and we see this a lot of times too in organizations that we serve, is that decisions don't happen and projects don't get done because no one owns a piece of it, or there's confusion around that. And so internally, we have the value of ownership, accountability, of not waiting for somebody else to raise their hand, but own what it is that you're working on, and make sure that you help get it to complete. Client excellence always. We are obsessed with client excellence, and are proud to say we have a really high CSAT score as a result of that. And then we have 2 others. One is it won't be pretty, which just means that we are a small boutique organization, which I think works tremendously to our advantage, because from a customer's perspective, we're very nimble. We can respond very quickly to what they need. We don't have to go through a lot of red tape and bureaucracy and things like that. And so folks get a really personal experience from us all the way to the top of our organization. We genuinely care about them. And we're also very adaptable when things change. And then the last one is the fast eat the slow. This goes back to that whole rapid time to value. We really try to show customers in how we show up differently than other organizations. So we respond quickly to emails, and phone calls and things like that. If there's issues that arise, we are quick to get them resolved and figure them out and get them out of the way so that we can continue to move quickly. So
I love it. Thank you for sharing those. And look,
absolutely.
again, lots of companies can have core values, but you can always tell when speaking to people who work there, the organizations who are actually living it and breathing it. And then the projects that we've worked on in helping you guys bring in people, the feedback, even from the early interviews, is always incredibly positive.
That's so cool.
That flows nicely into what I wanted to cover with you next, which is the sort of looking ahead piece. You guys have had a tremendous run since choosing to focus on ServiceNow. Your path to Elite Partner is remarkable given the size of the organization and the work that you're doing. When you look at the next chapter, particularly the next 2 years, because the evolution of the platform, the engagement, and the introduction of the Gen AI components means you can't really plan too far beyond a year or two. But when you look at the near-term roadmap, what are you excited about? What are you looking forward to working on, and how is that going to impact growth for the business?
Yeah, so I get asked this question a lot, even by new employees, like where's Beyond20 headed? Our mission is not going to change. It's still around changing work life. How we do that will change. So generative AI and things like that are going to make things a lot better and different, and allow folks to do things that they could not otherwise do with the staff that they have. So that's very exciting. But we're seeing, I mean, there's so many parts of the ServiceNow platform that we're starting to get into, beyond kind of the basic stuff. The industry SKUs, we're working on several of those projects, just because we have experience in a lot of different industries. So I think for us, it's going to be more breadth across the platform, but the same mission, the same level of customer service. So yeah, more things, just with the same intention behind it.
Yeah, I get that. Finishing on the people side of things, because I know this is something that you're passionate about and is very important to you, and it's clear in this conversation as it has been in all of our prior discussions. But when you're speaking to people about Beyond20, candidates who you think can add value or are the right fit for the organization, what is it that you tell them about Beyond20, the work that you're doing, the investment in the people that gets these candidates excited enough to join you guys over some of the other great organizations also trying to compete for this rare talent?
So I think there's similarities, or there's similar threads between talking to a future employee versus talking to a future customer. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be heard. We all want to solve a problem. For a customer, it's the problem that they're having at work so that they can have less of a headache at work and go home refreshed and energized rather than exhausted. And I think for candidates, it's a lot of the same thing. We're all looking, I mean, certainly things matter to us differently and different things drive us. But we really try to ask a lot of questions around candidates, and Beyond20 is not going to be a fit for everyone. We're a small, rapidly growing organization. We work really hard, but we also trust one another quite a bit. And this is a place where if folks want to rapidly develop skills and get to try a ton of stuff that they've never been able to try before, this is such a cool place for that. But yeah, for us, we really try to figure out what matters to folks. For some folks, it's that we're a woman-owned, minority-owned firm. Actually, 75% of our leadership team is made up of women, and we really try to have a lot of diversity of voice and inclusion throughout the organization. So, but yeah, we also have unlimited ServiceNow certifications that we help people get. That's usually a big thing that gets folks excited. But we also do a lot of training outside of that, because we are a training organization, and that's how we started our company. Folks get tons of opportunity to get trained certifications in lots of different things. So I think, yeah, for folks that want to learn and grow and be challenged and do really cool work and meaningful work, yeah, I think that's how we get great people on the bus with us.
I love it. Erika, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us today. We really appreciate it. I've been looking forward to sharing your story since we first connected as businesses. And yeah, I think you didn't disappoint. Your story, the jury of Beyond20. So let's get this out there so people can learn more about you. And there's going to be lots of opportunities within the ServiceNow community, particularly with the work you're doing. So people listening, tune in, and yeah, we'll keep a keen eye on the next phase of growth and hiring at Beyond20. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And I will say really quick, our website is
Yes.
just beyond20.com. We have an active YouTube channel. We have a very active blog on our website as well. We are proponents of being really generous with our knowledge. So there's tons and tons of resources out there for free. And yeah, be sure to check them out.
We will. And we look forward to having you back on the show again in the near future.
All right, let's do it.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Alldus podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. We are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any Android podcast of choice. You can also head over to our website, www.alldus.com, to listen to more podcasts, view our open roles, and stay up to date with industry news. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more great episodes coming very soon.